This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on U.S. presidential elections. The participants are Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, and Simran Sodhi, journalist.
Today we are discussing the U.S. presidential elections, and the outcome now seems to be pretty clear. New president coming into the White House in January 2021. We have Joseph Biden, who will be the 46th president of the United States. And we have new Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and she has also broken the glass ceiling by becoming the first woman Vice President and also the woman of color who is the first one to take the Vice President's office. Ambassador Sajjanhar, when you see this trend which is approaching, we have seen now that Joseph Biden will be the 46th U.S. President and Kamala Harris will be the next Vice President. How do you see this mandate which is rolling out and the way in which the American public has voted?
Well, when the elections were approaching, then there were all these very many news channels, pollsters, newspapers, etc. All of them seemed to suggest that Mr. Biden was having a very significant and a very convincing lead over Donald Trump. This is something similar to what was seen in 2016, where they had shown that Hillary Clinton for all this period was having a very definitive lead over Donald Trump. But at that time, it was all these projections were proved to be false. And here also they had mentioned that it was about 8 to 10% lead overall nationally. And in some of the battleground states also that Mr. Biden was having a significant lead. So it would be, so to say, a walkover for Biden, that there was a blue wave that was going to engulf the country and it would be sort of very decisive win for Mr. Biden. I think it has surprised everyone that although it is mentioned that Mr. Biden has won about 75 million votes, which is the highest number of votes any presidential candidate has won. But even Mr. Trump has won about 70 million votes, and the numbers might go up for both the candidates once the voting is completed. So it is a very divided, fractured verdict, so to say. And the elections took place on the 3rd of November. But we got the final results only our time late yesterday. That means on the 7th morning as far as the U.S. Eastern Time is concerned. So it has taken a long time because of all the counting and other things. So it is going to be a challenge now because it is not a very decisive mandate that Mr. Biden has won. And also, as far as the House of Representatives is concerned, where the Democrats have a majority, that majority has been reduced. In the Senate, where the Republicans have a majority, it appears that they will be able to retain their majority. And also, as far as the governors are concerned, the Republicans seem to have made some inroads. So it is not an out-and-out victory as far as the Democrats are concerned.
Ambassador Sajjanhar, we also see that President Trump has been quite defiant and he has been quite unaccepting of the results that have emerged, to the extent where he has said that there seems to be voter fraud and corruption. How do you see this panning out in the next 1 or 2 months? Because we have till January when Joe Biden actually is sworn in as the president. Until then, Donald Trump remains the president. Do you see legal challenges coming up in the near future?
He has said that, and he has taken Joe Biden to the courts, this whole electoral process. What I would say personally is I think it's extremely unfortunate that the most prosperous country, the strongest country, and the oldest democracy as it is called, that president itself, the leader of that country itself, should cast aspersions on the integrity and the credibility of the election system and of the democratic procedures itself. I think it is extremely unfortunate, and it doesn't give any credit either to the individual or to the system as such. But I do hope that going forward that we will be able to overcome this. He has posted some challenges, like he's asked for a recount in Wisconsin. Wisconsin has 10 electoral college votes. He went to the state courts in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Michigan. Both Georgia and Michigan have 16 electoral college votes. Pennsylvania has 20 votes. But I think his case has really been thrown out by all these courts. So his only hope that is left is somehow to bring in the federal Supreme Court, which appears rather unlikely at this stage.
Ambassador Sajjanhar, how do you see the India-US relationship then under President Joe Biden? We've seen that the India-US relationship has grown significantly in the last few years. and we had President Donald Trump visit India. Do you feel that the India-US relationship will be able to maintain the momentum it has gained in the last few years? And the bilateral ties will most probably remain more or less the same, despite a change in the presidency in the US?
Simran, what I feel is that our bilateral relations are destined to grow, to expand, and to become more intense and deep. And why do I say this? Because I don't think that a change in the occupancy in the White House has, over the last 20 years, affected our relations in any negative way. Every presidency that has come, our relations have maintained their upward trajectory. You see from the visit of Bill Clinton in March 2000, that was a Democratic president. Then for 8 years, we had a Republican in George W. Bush, after which came Obama, 8 years of Democrat. And then now the last 3.5, 4 years of Mr. Trump. So many of these presidents have changed their policies with respect to so many other aspects. But the focus on growth of the India partnership, that has always been there. The emphasis has always been there. For instance, just to give you an example as far as Mr. Trump is concerned, he wanted to undo everything that Mr. Obama had done. So domestically, he did away with Obama. Internationally, he moved out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He moved out of the Paris Climate Change Accord. He moved out of the Iranian nuclear deal. But as far as relations with India are concerned, as you've said very rightly, once again, we had seen the concept, the initiative of the Indo-Pacific in 2007. That was given by Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. But Mr. Trump revived it in 2017 when he was in Manila. He also revived the concept of the Quad, that is Japan, Australia, India, and the United States. And that has become much more vibrant, much more powerful. We had this meeting of the Quad, the foreign ministers in Tokyo recently. He has brought 2+2 arrangement between India and the United States. We had the third meeting of the 2+2, that is Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Defense, meeting together. And in these highly contagious pandemic times, the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Defense Secretary Mark Esper, both of them traveled specially to India to have this 2+2 meeting. So particularly as far as defense is concerned, whether it is signing of these two very significant foundational agreements, COMCASA, which was signed in 2018, BECA, which was signed very recently at the time of the third 2+2, India becoming a major defense partner, also the STA-1, the Strategic Trade Authorization 1 agreement. So I think all these have strengthened our relations very significantly. Also in the area of pressure on Pakistan, pressure against terrorism in terms of stopping the funding to Pakistan, ensuring that it stays in the Financial Action Task Force list, the strong pushback against China in recent months, and we know that we are in the front line as far as warding off the aggressiveness of China is concerned. And today, the United States has emerged as the second largest defense partner of India. So our relations have expanded, and I'm confident that with Mr. Biden also, relations will continue to get stronger. Of course, we'll have to see how President-elect Biden, he responds to the China challenge. But I think there is a bipartisan consensus in the United States as far as India-US relations are concerned. I think there is also now a bipartisan consensus in the United States that China has emerged as a systemic rival. And whether it is the Democrats or the Republicans, they are both on the same page. They have to work to ward off and to push back against China. And of course, there are a large number of other countries also in addition to the Quad. So whether it is Quad Plus or Quad Plus Plus, I think Mr. Biden will give his full support in this case also.
Mr. Sasanar, we've also seen that the election of the U.S. Vice President-elect Kamala Harris has excited a lot of people, and we see a lot of positive reverberation on the internet also. And she has an India link. Her mother immigrated from India to study in Berkeley. How do you see her positioning in the future, and how significant do you think is her election as the Vice President-elect today?
I think it's a very significant development. First woman, first black woman, first Asian American, first Indian American descent woman. So many firsts to her credit. And in addition to that, she's just about 56, 57. 77, as against Mr. Joe Biden, who is 78. He will be the oldest president when he takes over January this year. So she will bring a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and she is experienced. She knows her mind. She is polite. She is respectful, but she is firm. So I think she adds a great deal of value to the presidency. She is not one who is going to stay in the shadows like Mike Pence has done, or for that matter, like Joe Biden himself had done when he was the vice president, meaning he was there basically to give support in the foreign affairs domain as far as Barack Obama was concerned, because that's his specialty. He was chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and of course, he had been extremely supportive when the India-US nuclear deal was signed. But I think Kamala Harris is going to be more proactive, more in the limelight, and going forward, it is unlikely that Joe Biden might wish to stand for the next elections in 2024. And at that time, Kamala Harris would be a very strong contender for the presidential nomination from the Democratic side. And this, of course, going forward, the manner in which she conducts herself and she is able to discharge her responsibilities, I think all of that will stand her in very good stead. The experience that she has, that she's able to garner in these 4 years.
Do you feel that the foreign policy under a President Joseph Biden in 2021 will make some serious departures from the way President Trump has conducted the American foreign policy on the international stage? For example, Joseph Biden has already said that once he becomes the president, the U.S. will rejoin the climate Paris Agreement. Do you see a dramatic change as far as foreign policy is concerned under the presidency of Joseph Biden?
Yes, Simran, I do see that there is going to be a huge difference, not only in substance, but also in style. Because as far as Donald Trump's style is concerned, he's extremely unpredictable. He's very arbitrary. He is very unstable in his pronouncements. He will say something by a tweet today and negate it, in 24 hours. So I think we will see much greater stability and much greater predictability when Joe Biden is concerned, and I think that will be good for everyone. Number two, he will strengthen the alliances. Donald Trump has humiliated his partners, whether it is the European Union or NATO or the others, whether it is Korea, Japan, Australia. So at bilateral level, and I think that sort of respect and cooperation and collaboration, that will once again be restored when Joe Biden comes in. In terms of substance, definitely, as you said, that climate change is something that Joe Biden himself is very committed to. So I can see that there will be a significant change on that. Possibility of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, because that was also negotiated by Barack Obama, in which Joe Biden also had a hand. So he might decide to come back, and I think all the other 11 members of the TPP, what is now known as the CPTPP, the Comprehensive Progressive TPP, I'm sure they'll be very happy to welcome him. As far as the Iranian deal is concerned, we might see some work being done on that and some possibility of once again rejoining the Iranian nuclear deal, the JCPOA, and that would be of benefit to us because we'll be able to buy oil at a cheaper price. We will get greater political space in this region, and we'll be able to have the work on the Chabahar project. Maybe there'll be a reconsideration of the total withdrawal from Afghanistan. If that happens, we'll need to see as to how this works out. Joe Biden has said that he will meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which Donald Trump has not done in his 4 years. So I think that could be another point of pressure as far as China is concerned. The United States has withdrawn from a number of international agreements like WHO, UNESCO, Human Rights Council, WTO. It has completely emasculated it. So there might be some changes in those. And I think all of this will move forward to once again a re-establishment of the leadership of the United States in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on U.S. presidential elections. The participants were Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, and Simran Sodhi, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our website newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.